No, it's just you and me now. Is that it?
Right. And it wasn't clear who could be here. I mean, at 11, I think, well, I haven't, I have to check my email again.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I don't want to spend, you know, I'm doing good work. I feel like my energy is better spent in actually working on this document, you know, than talking about it.
yeah, here comes Patrick. I just saw his email that he was going to make it at 11.
Oh, great.
And I guess you were the one that couldn't make it at 11, so you're here.
Right. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, so we were just beginning. I just started the recording.
Oh, cool.
Kendall was going over the document created on the taxonomy of identity, which is sort of like the other end of where I'm working, which is on the social ledger as identity. Okay, most of the material we have in terms of past videos and things are sort of on you know, identity today, the single sign-on using viewport for blockchain identity.
Wait, so I'm sorry, where is this taxonomy doc?
Yeah, here, let me share, Jim. I'll take Patrick and show him.
Yeah, if you in the it's right at the top of the BYOID project log, where we should be putting notes.
Okay, I'm checking.
So here's, oh shoot. Yeah, I just closed it. Okay, here it is. Oh, darn. Oh, shoot. Well, yeah. Oh, darn it. Jim, can you put that, the know thyself, you know, the document where the link is back in the paste here. I just closed it accidentally.
The Know Yourself document. Patrick has that. It's right at the top. Taxonomy.
Where?
All right, I screwed up. I clicked on a tab, but I closed the tab instead of opening it, and it was that document, Jim, that came out of 2 meetings ago. That is now, I'm assuming, the current state document. Can you put it? I'm going to stop share.
We have the Know Yourself document.
Okay, all right, I see it in the chat.
Okay.
Is it in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, let me go there, and I just wanted to.
If you just in Drive, if you just hit the search and put Know Yourself, it comes right up.
Okay, so here.
Okay, and this is the link to the taxonomy document where Kendall has.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so let me sort of take over here from here, and I'll take you on just a quick tour of sort of where this has been leading as far as my thinking is concerned.
Awesome. Go for it.
Oh, shoot. Damn it. I almost left the meeting. Okay. All right. We're here. We're all in the place together. So here's what I did. I took what, Patrick, I think you put in it initially as a sort of starter mission for the ebook, right?
Okay.
And this was, you know, this part here, which I synthesized down to this: identity as it relates to the decentralized ecosystem at large. And then, why is owning your identity important? Okay, now, so then I synthesize that to that which is external to the cyber environment at large. In other words, everything that's out there that relates to your identity that you may not have any control of, but that would be creating an organic identity. Okay, and that is everything from what's so about you, you know, things that you've done, but it also includes personas that an individual may have assumed, you know, whether it's in a gaming environment or, you know, some dating website or whatever it is, right? So you've got this external and cyber environment where your identity exists. All right. So that I'm really thinking that we have a sort of a bifurcated identity space. And the second part is intrinsic to the autonomous individual. And this is really the BYOID part. So it's sort of like the first part is bring their identity, you know, of you, and bring your own identity, which is the other half of this whole thing. So, you know, as and when I talk about a taxonomy, what I'm talking about is a classification system. I mean, taxonomies were developed in biology to break down the different species and genus and you know, all of that kind of thing. And this is kind of taking that concept over to the identity space. What's in, and I've taken the Sovereign Foundation white paper, and I was able to turn it into a doc that could be marked up, and you know, I have it in Google Docs, and I will bring it over here. I haven't done that yet, but okay. I think it's very interesting to look at Sovereign. However, I have some real issues with the Sovereign identity, because it seems to be leading towards the creation of a bureaucracy and a hierarchy and a, you know, politicization of identity.
You know, I think there's two ways you have to look at this, Kendall, and one is the Federation of Sovereign Systems, and federation is, you know, is one of the aspects of identity that is actually going out of favor, out of style, because with a self-sovereign identity, we actually are anti-federation. We release the federation, and yet there being a federation is a good idea, whether that's sovereign or not. Okay, yeah. It has no bearing on the value of their software and the systems that we have available for our use that may or may not be federated with the sovereign network.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think federated identities, that relates to webs of trust, and that, you know, has its place in associations, groups. I mean, especially when you're talking about trade associations and business classes and all of that. I think that federated identity definitely has a place, but I don't think it's what our chain is looking for.
Yeah. Well, there's two faces of Sovereign right now. One is the Hyperledger Indie project, which is everything they've developed in Sovereign. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the stuff that we can use. Okay, and then there's.
Do you want to put that in here, Jim? I mean, I would welcome you to, you know, put that, I mean, either make a comment and paste in those links and I can incorporate them. Do you want to do it that way?
So hold on, guys. Can I reel it back here for a second? So this, let me just clarify. This taxonomy specifically is going to be like a glossary of identity words and things like Sovereign had their glossary? No,
not at all. I don't think so. I mean, I'd have to look at theirs, but no, this is more like I think it's applicable to where is it here? Oh shoot. Huh. Geez, I thought I had it. The bubble diagram.
How will this be used? By who and how?
Well, I think it can be used by anyone who wants to understand what area of, all right, there are, you know, wouldn't it be wonderful to have I mean, I think the goal of self-sovereign identity is to somehow integrate everything there is to be known about an identity, including, but under the control of the individual. Right?
Yep.
Okay. So, however, there are lots of different applications for identity out there. And until such time as true self-sovereign identity is able to live in cyberspace, a classification that it sort of goes to the like HIPAA standards, for instance, right? Good enough identity. Okay, there are lots of situations where an identity can be good enough. It may not rise to the level of the ideal self-sovereign identity, but
right. Okay.
From a practical standpoint, all right. So when I talk about the taxonomy, this is something I'm doing for myself, okay, but I'm sharing it because in my mind it's very important. The things that I'm working on, it's very important, okay. I'm looking at things from an enterprise standpoint. How do you solve the identity problem for a large number of enterprises? Okay.
So, let me just take in what I heard there for a second and then apply. So, you're doing this for yourself because you feel this is important and that is awesome and it looks great. So, are you willing to use this as a contribution to the Know Yourself campaign?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So this taxonomy of identity specifically, I like where you're going, especially what you said about the absolute first thing you said, the external to the cyber environment, and then what's intrinsic to your autonomous individual. Would you consider this taxonomy identity a chapter or a section in the ebook or a standalone article or a reference like glossary type of thing? Basically, what I'm not like, yeah. I'm not trying to talk about the content in it itself. I just want the context of where it will apply within the campaign.
Okay, so as I am trying to understand what the needs and the desires of our chain are, okay. which I don't think that I think that our chain is more interested in an organic approach to identity, which I think fits more closely with the free trust concept of how identities become or develop and essentially craft themselves as individuals participate in the environment, right? Does that sound like it's going in the direction of where you think our chain would want it to be?
Yeah, it very well could. But so, all right. So in the identity, I listed out a few GitHub issues in the sequence that I would like to try to take this campaign specifically on, and not, I don't want to intrude on what everybody else is doing in regards to identity, but so the first thing I have on this to-do list is a campaign outline. And then
Okay.
I'll explain to you how this all can fit. So essentially,
and I'm showing this is what you emailed out yesterday, I think.
Yeah. So KY stands for Know Yourself.
Okay. Got it.
And then I'm now thinking that this even should be broken up into two things: Know Yourself and Own Yourself. So Know Yourself will be the explanatory ebook of the state of identity, and at which we totally understood it. And then Own Yourself is an actionable strategy to how to, using the tools that we have and looking into the future of how you will be able to own your sovereign identity. And then that's specifically where we're going to see the R-Chain take and everybody else's take that is willing to contribute. So this campaign, the Know Yourself part of the campaign is it's a general awareness type of content so that people understand why identity is important and therefore will appreciate, our chain specific approach more, or so it's not necessarily like immediately about our chain. It's a collaborative piece to help people to understand why it's so important.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, your taxonomy applies specifically to both of those concepts.
Right.
And then you can think about, I don't want to use the word repurposing, but using what you have here, and then in conversations and collaborations with Ed and Glenn and whoever else is working on identity, we can formulate our chain specific content, and it'll piece right into the bigger, or not the bigger, but the broader campaign.
Yeah, exactly. And here's another thing that I really thought about. Okay, and now I'm showing here identity formation strategies, and this relates more to the persona side of things, and if our chain is ultimately about attention, right, and the attention economy, then our chain should really be have an interest in how it interfaces with different personality types. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. So this is, I love all this, but this is getting a little more specific than where I think I need to be focused on right now. I would like to outline the campaign specifically, the broadest campaign, and then piece it together. And then after that, formulate a table of contents. And then at that point, I will be very much interested in the specific content that fills in that table.
Okay, but I mean, you don't mind if people are following their thought processes
no, not at all.
These other directions.
No, definitely don't mind. I just, I in the time that I'm spending in these meetings and things, I have specific goals.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this is here. This is basically your outline for setting it up in GitHub to essentially manage this identity project from A to Z, basically.
The content campaign. So the actual rolling out of the campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's great. So I mean,
so the way that the content is created and stuff, I don't know enough, and I don't know, like, I can already tell with this taxonomy and with what you guys are doing, you're taking it in the right direction. And that is awesome. And there will be a point where I'm going to dive more into the content itself and the layering of that. But I would like right now to just kind of get an outline of like, okay, this is how we're kind of going to roll it out.
I think, someone's going to have to merge, refactor all the content at some time into a
exactly
mix.
Oh, sure.
But right now, it's good that we work independently and generate the content that will later be integrated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, each one of these categories, okay, it lives as a separate GitHub issue where we can load content and links and things in, right? So in other words, as we become, and I'm speaking for myself personally, as I become familiar with the purpose of each one of these categories, as I am doing my thing, and I see something that ought to go in that category, I'll just bring it over there.
Yeah,
precisely.
You should add yourself to the card for anything that you want to work that you're working with.
Yeah, yes, definitely do that.
How do I do that?
Click on the 3 dots
right there.
What'd you do?
Which 3 dots?
You didn't click on a card. You have to click in the card.
Okay. Right there. Oh, I got it. All right, I got it. So I have to, copy.
No. You just click on the name, and it'll take a second to load. Yeah, just click on the name.
Okay. All right. Well, it opens the issue, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it should do.
Kendall's a member.
Oh.
I don't know how that could be.
I mean, I can access 41 here.
Not in the Google group. Are you in the Google group, the Archain Google group?
I'm sure I get things from them. I mean, I haven't.
Well, you get the mailing list, but do you get the Google group? Because there's not much on the Google group at all. I guess I should check that out.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I connecting. There it is. Okay. So
yeah, and then assignees. It's on the right-hand side under pipeline.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting it confused with other words.
So you see do you see the green button, new issue?
There it is.
Yeah, there you go. Then that's pipeline. Go to assignees.
Assignees.
Yeah, and then Kendall. There you are. Click your name.
Oh, I'm
in. You just gotta click your name. There you go. Now you're in.
Oh, cool. So I do the same thing with all the other ones.
Yeah, any ones that you want to take part in.
And if there's someone in something they're in, you can add them. You can just check them.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so yeah, I'll while we're talking here, I'll go ahead and add myself on these, but I don't need to do it in share. So, just getting back to this. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. So I've also identified 5 different types of identity from a sociological or sociologist's viewpoint. Individual identity, social identity, collective identity, multiple identity, and stigmatized identity.
Oh, this is in the 4 functions of consciousness section?
Yeah, this is under, yes, yeah, 4 functions of consciousness. Maybe, I don't know. I need to go back and look at that again. This is I'm dumping a bunch of stuff in here, and it doesn't have an index yet.
Right, and yeah, this is good, and this is kind of my point of doing the campaign outline and then the table of contents, because then once you're dumping this stuff, you'll be able to go, oh, this applies to
goes there.
know yourself. This applies to own yourself. This applies to glossary. This applies to,
Right. And we may, modify that sort of table of contents.
Of course, yeah.
As we discover categories that need to be addressed. So, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at on this. And now,
this is awesome. The more I learn, the more I realize like how in depth it is and how kind of cool of a topic it is. I just started reading all the sovereign stuff. That's the place I was told to start, and so I'm gonna go there and then move outward after that. But this whole psychological angle it's just another big piece of the puzzle.
I mean,
so that's awesome.
Your generation is very, very much into virtual reality and gaming and so forth. And I think the virtual reality domain has just started, really. So these virtual identities, and which are essentially personas, becomes a huge part of the identity landscape. And it's a whole category within itself.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And I think ArtChain, because again, I mean, it's about trust. Okay. You can have personas that are trustworthy, that can build positive and robust, trustworthy identities without revealing, this persona is all about the individual managing their identity. That's BYOID. Right?
Okay, so all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm in Know Yourself notes right now. I put a section, just a little thing, 11/5/2017, and I'm gonna put campaign outline. So now in my thinking, I think 2 ebooks is actually going to be the way to go. What do you guys think? There's the Know Yourself and then Own Yourself, which has actionable steps towards owning your identity on the internet and what to look out for and what some of the tools that, such as ArtChain and Uport and BYOD and those ones.
Well, I would definitely raise that as a question.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, in other words, you're saying BYOID has 2 aspects to it. One is know yourself, and the other is how do you own that.
I think there's one ebook, so to speak, with articles maybe. I think that, own yourself. You have the 2 major perspectives we have to present, which is the human, the personal perspective, and the organizational perspective.
Okay.
So own yourself. Is the self-sovereign identity, and I guess
and then what about
identity is the third.
Okay, all right, yeah, I like that. So Own Yourself might not end up being a total ebook. It may just be like a large article or something.
I think.
And then in Know Your, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but so in Know Yourself as the ebook, it presents those 2, self-sovereign identity and then the organizational identities, and then Own Yourself can be a standalone piece of content that funnels back into Know Yourself, the big one.
Could be. I can't picture the whole thing right now, but
I appreciate that's what I'm trying to do. But I appreciate that.
Own Yourself almost becomes like a bit like a tutorial.
Yeah, that's kind of So I am starting to see it more as like a long form article of just here's what you can do right now to own yourself, and here's what you need to look out for moving forward to establish your self-sovereign identity.
I was thinking own yourself would be sort of the breakdown of the different technologies.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah,
and are emerging.
Exactly.
That allow you to be self-sovereign.
Yep. All right. So, okay. So this would be the breakdown of the technologies that you will be able to use to establish a self-sovereign identity. And then we can go to current paradigms and then looking forward.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yes, how we aggregate them, the bring your own ID part.
Okay. And then how we aggregate.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, it's sort of like BYO. If I'm a user and I come into this BYOID user space, and there's a description of what it means to bring your own identity, and then there's the part of, okay, now, are you ready to own your identity?
That's true.
Okay, and the own part, that's the tutorial at the end, where if they essentially follow the instructions for owning an identity, now they have established a self-sovereign identity that is deployable in the cyber environment.
So, all right. So the first part of that was, can you repeat the first part before establishing?
Yeah, basically a user story is that the user encounters the bring your own identity site where it is laid out in an understandable way for the user to say, oh, I get it.
Yeah, and this, I mean, there's the simple practical things, as well as the idea of embracing the natural nature of identity that you have already. You're bringing it into a identity which you can be master of.
All right. Okay. So, help me outline that in a campaign. So, that's all considered under own yourself? We'll call that tag. And own yourself is, in my summary, the actions you should take to consolidate and own your own identity moving forward. Now, what you guys are talking about now is, or Jim, what you had just mentioned was like a breakthrough in thought, or is there an actual action to be taken?
Well, in the social ledger, we're consolidating identities, or we're bringing different Mattermost identities from different Mattermost and Discord instances into a unified identity.
Okay, so there's the first step is consolidating your current identities. And then,
that's
maybe
something that people can do today. It's something we're working on.
Right. So so in all of these campaigns and all of this content, my hope is to talk about the ideas and the steps and put those first and foremost, not necessarily the brands or the tools, even though those will be very much so featured. but they'll be in the context of knowing yourself and owning yourself. The ideas themselves are what is first and foremost. So there's definitely ways of people can consolidating their current IDs and trimming the fat, like getting rid of how best to delete content and what to know about information that you think you deleted but maybe you didn't. You know, there's things like that.
Yeah, you know, we've got I guess distinct areas there of what you can do and what we are doing.
Yep.
And
that's it. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. Keep in mind that my tendency is to go towards move things towards practical, usable outcomes. Okay. I understand. I mean, what you're looking for a white paper, not or more like a white paper rather than a call to action. Right?
No. These are going to be very much actionable. This is a whole campaign. It's gonna be, and this is what I appreciate this conversation, because I'm figuring out exactly how to structure it. But it will very much be very much action oriented. You have to trust me on the steps to getting to those calls to action.
That's fine. You know, I'm totally supportive of, you know, whatever structure you set up, because I'm sure it'll get us at least 75% of the way there. And the
problem is that, you know, there's really no place to start, you know.
Well, that's right. I mean, this is a giant amorphous blob, and that's why I'm focused on the taxonomy.
All right. So the taxonomy is awesome, but I do think that there's plenty of places to start. I think there's pain points, and I was give me 1 second so I can grab mine. I printed out the sovereign white paper so I could just write sticky notes on it and stuff.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I think you got the right approach. You're telling people what they can do now, and they're getting them to understand the impacts of their identity. And so
here,
you know, in order for them to understand our solutions, they have to understand the problem. And
I missed the first part, but yes, I exactly agree with that. Yeah. So like in Sovereign's executive summary, they highlight some of the problems. And I put a little note there about like how many, and this is an article that will be, the call to action will get them to read the full Know Yourself, or a aspect of Own Yourself that helps to solve this pain point right now. How many times a year, or how many hours a year, this would be a really good piece of data to try to get at least a summary of, is how many hours a year do you spend resetting your password, or having to go through the forget your password process. And like that is a problem that all of us go through, and I'm willing to bet it's like 50 hours a year or something like that people spend just redoing their passwords because they forgot them, or the KYC process that they have to go through after the forgetting of a password.
Yeah, but you know, some people say there's good password managers that take care of that headache already. Maybe not.
Yeah, so that's an example of a current tool. Right. Exactly. And then we can get into the future tools, which would be the self-sovereign, like UPort type of identities, the interoperable identities. But so that was what I'm doing right now, is I'm giving examples of places we can start. And these will be complementary, like articles. Like, so it's like very headliney if you think about it, like 52 hours a year spent resetting passwords.
Right.
You know, and so this will grab their attention, and then it's going to be like a, you know, 1,000 word, 2,000 word article that, and then by the end of that, they're going to click through to Know Yourself, or click through to Own Yourself, or something like that. We'll move them through these ideas, move them from their problem to the solution, and then to the tool, or to the solution and then through the tool. Yeah. So I have a few more of those notes, like what's the cost of privacy? And this applies to the organizational one. And I'll go through again. These are a little more content specific. I'm trying to just outline the campaign right now. Impacts of missing identity. I have one. Adhesion contracts. That was really interesting.
Hey, Patrick, I just, I sent you a link to a Google Doc where I was able to put the sovereign white paper in a fully, where you can make comments on it and you can highlight and I think you could actually change the text. Do you want to see if you can open it? I think you'll find it very helpful.
Yeah, I just had to request access. But one thing I am doing, because I spend so much time on the computer, is right now I'm starting to just like my educational materials. I'm printing out and reading. But then I can always go back and just comment what notes I.
Well, this is you'll see that I've highlighted in red. I mean, I went through the whole document and basically highlighted the areas that kind of jumped out at me. Okay, and if you want to get into this and pick another color, I mean I can I couldn't figure, I was willing to share this with anyone who had the link, but it wouldn't work. Couldn't get it to do that. So.
If you just hit share and click on the link, say anybody can comment.
It didn't come up that way, unfortunately.
You have to click on the link sharing. You can share your screen if you want.
Here, I'll show you. So let me close and here. So I open.
I'm saying this. Get shareable link right at the top. On the right side. There you go.
Yep. And then you're going to have to probably click advanced.
Just click on it. Okay.
Anyone with the link can view.
Can comment, yeah, switch that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess I know I've done that before, but.
I actually run into that sometimes too, where I know I changed the permissions, but it didn't go back.
So here it is. It's in a really good form for us to pick it apart. And I believe I spent several hours going through this thing. But this is partly where some of my conclusions about sovereign, when they talk about their foundation and they talk about stewards and trust anchors and so on and so forth. Jim, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of this we covered in the Free Trust white paper. And our approach was really to a purely organic trusted identity, whereas what Sovereign seems to be doing is setting up a institutionalizing identity. What are your thoughts on that?
Once again, I mean, there's two perspectives. There's the own yourself perspective, and there's the how we organize our webs of trust and build organizational identity.
Right.
Okay, and this comes down to the bottom-up process meeting the top-down process.
Yep.
And who we federate with, whether we federate with the Sovereign Foundation or not, is totally voluntary. They're not going to be the only people we federate with.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Hyperledger Indy process gives us the tools and methods to run our own sovereign Divi federation. That's completely independent of the sovereign if we want it to be.
Yeah.
But there's good reason probably to federate it. Because of the people behind it and the nature of the federation, it doesn't mean it's the only federation. Don't think of it as it's the one.
I don't think of it that way, and this is why, you know, my view of sovereign is that, again, kind of the beginning of a bureaucracy, and the question is, to what extent and a federation, right? I mean, sovereign is creating the underpinnings for a federated identity management ecosystem, right?
It's a chaotic system, okay, and it has governance, and it may not be what you want, but it is a good model for us to follow if we want to make an independent thing. You have to start thinking of Hyperledger Indy and not the Sovereign Foundation.
Yeah.
Sovereign Foundation is only one choice, which if you don't like their governance, don't join.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's what I got out of it.
This is a model that we can apply for any organization. It has to have some governance. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as sovereign, but you need some kind of chaotic structure for a federation. You can't be federated without it. And although federated has become a bad word, it's necessary. You have to have an organizational view as well as the personal view.
Yeah. Well, you know, and to my way of thinking, federation is not a bad word or a bad thing. It's a tool. Yeah. Federation is a tool.
Right. The thing is, you know, if you're going to get governments and to trust the identity, okay, you're going to need something like sovereign.
I agree.
And what they have now is not as good. They have the big banks as partners. They have, you know, you can bring your own identity to the federal government if you, according to the current standards. Okay, but you have to bring it through somebody that you trust. Like OneID does that.
Yeah.
Service. Banks and other, I can't remember who all is doing it, but basically they privatize identity. And and there's a government mechanism for you to become a trusted government.
Well, and that's my, this is why.
Sovereign is just one of those, okay, that you can join.
Okay, Jim, I get it. I don't need the lecture, okay? I know what sovereign is, all right? And I know what the pitfalls are, or I think I do, okay? And I don't think sovereign identity is necessarily for our chain, although, you know.
Hyperledger Indy is for our chain. Okay, Hyperledger Indy.
Can you put that link in the chat?
So just, you know, we could just delete everything from the document about the foundation and change that to the organization. Leave it ambiguous.
Well, yeah, in other words, make it more DAO-like.
Well, it's anybody's organization. Anybody who's going to build a self-sovereign identity in an organizational setting is going to have the same structure, more or less.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look at Hyperledger Indy here. Okay. So yeah. Sorry, Patrick. Didn't mean to bend too far away from where you were trying to.
It's fine. And when you guys were talking, I was doing some work. I gotta take off in 5 minutes at 12 though.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. I got plenty to do myself. So.
All right, Hyperledger Indy. Thanks for that note, Jim. I'm going to look into that too.
Yeah, I put some stuff into the meeting notes for today. If you can add anything to the meeting notes, that would be much appreciated.
You're doing meeting notes in hashtag know yourself state of identity?
No, in the BYOID project log. That's what this meeting.
Oh, my bad. All right. So should we moving forward separate the meetings?
I don't think so. Because, well, you know, I mean, certainly there's stuff with a single sign-on that's technical that isn't really part of the project. But this has been a high-level meeting with Greg, with Ed, and other people from Sovereign in it, and I think that it's the attendance hasn't been good enough to warrant a separate meeting at this point.
Right, and I was thinking less about the attendance and more about the agenda.
Yeah, well, you know, what I think is that we can arrange the agenda so that, you know, something starts at 11, something starts at 11:30 or whatever.
Right.
Okay. Well, let me just point out something.
The issues of identity that have come up in these meetings all along have been very important to the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think it is relevant 99% of the time. Now, if we're talking about OAuth problems with Mattermost, you know, that's something you guys probably don't have to hang around for. But the knowledge of, I guess, how we're unifying these identities or the concepts behind it or something you should be aware of.
Yes, most definitely. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So it's just a matter of clearly formulating that agenda beforehand, and we'll schedule out some of those things, and we'll stick to it.
Oh, okay. FYI, and Jim, you know this. On Saturdays, I am Saturday ambassador at Aspen Highland Ski Area.
Right.
And I can't, you know, when the ski season starts, I will not and cannot attend these meetings on a Saturday.
Right. So maybe we should have a separate meeting.
Well, I mean, and Patrick, you know, I've made this clear over and over again to other people, not yourself, but I try to plan my week around things that I consider to be business, and this is business to me, and I try to do that during business hours, and preferably from my viewpoint before noon my time, okay? Because that is when I'm really focused on current stuff. In other words, the stuff that is of highest priority to me, I try to get done in the morning when I'm fresh, when my mind is working well, and when I know that in the afternoon I'm going to be taking care of stuff that's important to my wife or my kids, or, you know, preserving my house or shoveling snow, or, you know, whatever it is.
Well, let's schedule a time when Plant Eater is available, and you're available, and Patrick is available, and I'm available.
Yes.
When we can do this. And
yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I mean,
actually good for Leah or what? I'm trying to think. 10 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I think, for it has to be early or late, right? Or at lunchtime for her. Lunchtime or later. Lunchtime, I guess, for her is
yeah, I mean, lunchtime for you is 10 o'clock for me, which is perfect.
Yeah.
7 o'clock for me is very difficult because I'm probably still eating breakfast at that time. 8 o'clock is definitely better. 9 o'clock is even better.
I got to take off, guys, but yeah, just keep me in the loop. Propose a couple of times that work for you guys. I'll be able to figure out something.
So we're shooting for 10 o'clock one day. Which day do you choose, Patrick?
10 o'clock a.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
You want to, and you said you'd rather not.
Also, right?
Well, it shouldn't be Monday because I always have an 8 o'clock meeting on Monday. So
yeah, something like
Wednesday.
Thursday would be better for me. Wednesday's all right, but I'm pretty busy on Wednesdays.
That's fine. Thursday is fine for me.
All right.
Okay.
That sounds good. All right, we'll do that then. And
yeah, we can try it out, and we can refine it.
Perfect. All right, guys, I'm gonna take off. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay. See you guys.